You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's show is also brought to you by PrizePicks. What is PrizePicks? PrizePicks is the best place to get real money on sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made your daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 100 or 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long with PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. PrizePicks is the best way to get on the action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if your picks don't all hit. If you think like James Cook's have a big week, he didn't have one for my team. Well, he did have one from my bench last week. I thought the Lions team was going to be better than they were. That's a long story. You can go to PrizePicks and get in on the action right now. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Parker Ains for the Locked On Coogs. You're joined by Martin Markin, who again is watching a lot of film on non-Coogs. Get ready for Coug football. And we had a commitment today, and we're recording on Monday evening. Luke McGarry, tight end out of Tulsa. I saw some people had him as a top 5 tight end. Some people as a top 10 tight end in the portal. I don't know where you put him necessarily in all that. He is eligible for the NFL draft in 2027, and I bet he gets drafted. He's really good. 6'3", I see him listed here at 240. I think he's a very strong pass catcher. And a little bit I was able to watch before we put this on as a tight end, which I think is important. What stuck out to you when you watched Luke McGarry or when you looked at Luke McGarry's stats as far as analytical data or whatever, as far as making him one of the best tight ends in the portal and now a Cougar?
Yeah, the thing that stood out is he catches the ball. It doesn't catch him. I think on every reception I watched, he was catching the ball like away from his body with his arms fully extended, which leads you to believe he's got very natural hands. He's comfortable catching the ball, strong hands, so he's going to be able to make tough catches. Helps for also if you catch him and run, he can on the run in motion. He can make a play here and there after. But the other thing is, Tulsa was using them on a lot of seam routes and corners, which I imagine you do with tight ends pretty often. It just makes sense with the flow of an offense. But he was really good at keeping his feet in bounds, like on sideline catches and like in the end zone, in traffic, which for a guy, he's not like a massive tight end, but 6'3", 240 is not a small human being. Being able to slow down and have the body control to stay in bounds and make those catches, it's a big deal. And, if you're doing that, for 15 yards, he's going to help you move the ball downfield.
I think it's going to help a lot. And I think, frankly, he is he's a good enough blocking tight end, right? He's not like I think he's better at catching the football as a tight end than he is at blocking. And that's, I guess, in watching some highlights on YouTube. So I guess, correct me if I'm wrong out there, internet. But I think that he is more equipped for an offense that's a little more opened up than we had last year. Weigman, you think, is a kind of quarterback that's going to open up the offense a little bit more. I think those things kind of seem to all be working synchronously towards a more effective offense. Am I wrong? Do you think that I'm wrong as calling him a pass catcher first? Or is that not what coaches want to hear the tight ends called? But that's my dog.
No, I mean, I'll be honest, when I'm watching the tight end, I just want to know that he's going to try to block and not necessarily that he's going to be like George Kittle, because, if he's like that, then, he's playing at Alabama or, whatever top end school at this point anyway. But yeah, I don't know if he's not a good blocker, but I just think he has a skill set as a receiver playing tight end that is valuable because, more often than not, you're looking for a guy who can just catch the ball playing tight end, but is able to, but is willing to block. So he's more than just a catch the ball kind of guy. I agree with it. I mean, Tulsa would even have him split out off the line. So.
Well, and I'd argue they probably should have used him more in the past game than they even did based on some of this. we talk about a tight end that's really good at receiver. We should probably talk about the receiver that's really good at being receiver. And they have a couple of those, but Harvey Brousard is really good.
Yeah.
I kind of watched the video and was like, this guy was at Louisiana. Like, wait a second.
Yeah.
He stood out, and I mean, he's fast, he's quick, he's shifty, he catches the ball well. Harvey Brousard feels like a steal.
Yeah.
You're high on him too, though.
Yeah, no disrespect to Louisiana, obviously, for the fact that he was there. But I mentioned it with Go Coogs. I wrote about it in the article. He just had a weird recruitment process. When he was a sophomore, I remember him being a big deal, a sophomore in high school. And it seemed like the kind of kid like, oh, he's in Louisiana. LSU was going to offer, and he's going to go to LSU and have a good career there. It just seemed like it was written in stone. But from what I saw, I don't know if they ever even offered for whatever reason. So he ended up in Louisiana. I mean, he had like Penn State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Florida. And he had big offers, I think, Florida, but besides the point. But I mean, yeah, the fact that he ended up in Louisiana, he was productive there. But at 6'3", he just moves so well. He explodes off the line. He averaged over 15 yards per target. So they were throwing him the ball downfield. He averaged over 15 per catch as well. But the fact that like each of his targets was averaging over 15 yards downfield is huge.
This isn't your screen pass kind of guy. This is he's going to be open over the top. He's open over the top.
He's going to be the guy isolated on one side. He's a different player than Sam Brown, but used kind of in the way that the old regime kind of used Sam, where he was isolated and they were taking deep shots with him and stuff. More that your prototypical X, and they don't have that right now. Like the roster that just didn't exist. Losing Manjack and Jonah Wilson, they were both 6'3". Once they left, there wasn't a receiver taller than 6 feet on the roster. So getting him just to have a big target is a big deal.
Well, and he's a big target. I think because of that, you compare him well with Boogie on the same side, because then you've got either double Boogie or you got to have somewhere at the top, because he's going to go over the top and take the top off the defense. We should mention, though, Amari Thomas is another wideout in this portal class that's committed. He had very productive years at UAB. He made it on, when you're looking up stuff on him on YouTube, he was on You Got Mossed. He was featured positively on You Got Mossed, I should say. I think Amari Thomas is going to play a role in this. He doesn't have the star power that Broussard does from his previous stop. And so I think that's why he's like playing second fiddle in this. Did you watch any of Amari Thomas? What did you think of Amari?
Yeah, I mean, I like him a lot too. I think he provides a lot of the same things that Boogie does. Where they were using, Tulsa was using him a lot in like the screen game. They were using him on like the jet sweeps. He took a jet sweep like 73 yards against Tulane this past season, and he wasn't touched. Like, he found a seam, and the last 50 yards of it, he was just pulling away from people. Like, he's got legit speed in the open field. But I think his superpower, if I wanted to point to any specific thing, is getting it to him quick and allowing him to set up blocks. He turns into, it's an overused phrase because any player with the ball in his hands turns into a running back. But he has that ability. He has good vision to set up blocks and navigate through, kind of the muck. And he's shifty in space.
Well, and all new toys for new transfer quarterback Connor Weigman to play with. I should point out that Zeon Chris has also said he's coming back. I will say, with Weigman's injury history, being a backup quarterback is going to be important. Having got it started some games is going to be important. And who knows if Chris does a little bit of playing other positions as well. The guy is a tremendous athlete. We'll see how they do all that in the spring game. Martin, you are watching a lot of football between Catapult and your work at Go Coogs. Where's the best place to find you and what you got coming out? And do you have anything on the way these days?
Nothing yet, because I want to make sure I'm talking about more than one guy at a time with how the portal's moving. So, maybe they sign another tight end. Maybe they sign, some D linemen, and I can package some guys together or something. But yeah, I mean, on Twitter is where I'm most active. I try to if I see somebody offered, I try to retweet it just so that fans can get their eyes on it. And I try to give like a little synopsis on somebody when they're signed or something, just to get like a brief idea of what I think on somebody.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you're underselling what you're doing on Twitter right now. When a commitment happens, you very quickly quote tweet it with a take, some information, and sometimes if there's something you remember from the recruiting process or something like there's always some tidbit. So make sure you're following Martin for all your Houston Cougar information. Whenever someone commits, go see what Martin has to say. I'm not going to try it. It's I assume phonetically pronounced like your last name, Markeen.
Yeah.
But it's spelled out Mahrowken as in the phonics. That's right. That's the way that goes.
Yeah. Just to make it easier.
Yeah. Mine's Painsworth, but it's also my name, Parker Ames. But that's the way things go. Like it. Fair enough. But Martin, as soon as more big topics pop up or more big portal news pops up, hopefully all in positive senses, we'll obviously be asking what you think again, because I don't mean to say this as in like patting myself on the back, because I think you're watching a lot more than I am. As I look at a bunch of people out there doing portal content, I don't see them doing Houston Cougar stuff. As I see people out there doing Houston Cougar stuff, I don't see them doing portal content. I feel like you and I have this down, and you're doing this like full time. So follow Martin. When stuff happens, we may have Martin back on. We'll see. I know you got your Go Coogs folks too that you got to talk to.
Yeah.
Got to fulfill that due diligence as well. But we appreciate you coming by to talk about these guys, because otherwise it feels like I'm talking into a void sometimes. So a void portal. There's something there. There's something there. Thanks for coming on again.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for portal shenanigans at any time.